We move now to perhaps one of the worst teams in the NFL this year, the Cleveland Browns. It's been a sad story for the Browns ever since they returned to Cleveland in '99. They have a new general manager this year, Mike Lombardi. Lombardi spent a lot of money in the offseason and traded most of his picks from this year's draft into next year's draft, which could pay off in the long run, but it's not going to help them this year. Starting at quarterback is Brandon Weeden, who won the job from Jason Campbell. The 29-year-old second-year player looks to improve, but you have to wonder how much can a 29-year-old improve? At his age, is there really that much he can improve on? Or has he maxed his potential? At running back, it's former third overall pick Trent Richardson, who's going to look to show that he is as good as he was hyped to be. And he only had 3.9 yards a carry, which was a little shocking considering he was practically their entire offense. The other big player on their offense last year was wide receiver Josh Gordon from Baylor, the supplemental draft pick. Will miss the first 2 games this season as he was suspended for a failed drug test. Looking to pick up the slack in his absence will be former second-round pick Greg Little, who has done little since he came out of North Carolina. People thought he'd be a lot more explosive like a Randall Cobb, but he just hasn't been that. Acquired in a trade for the Dolphins was Devon Best. Best is a fine slot receiver, but he's getting up there in age, and you have to wonder, does he have a lot left? He's taking some vicious hits in Miami. We move now to tight end, where the Browns might be the worst team in the NFL at that position. Jordan Cameron and Kellen Davis are the guys competing for the spot, and that's not a good option either way. They might as well just throw out extra running backs or extra wide receiver. Become creative because they don't have good options at tight end. And we move to the offensive line, where they have one of the league's best left tackles in Joe Thomas. He's been dominant ever since being drafted out of Wisconsin. And then we look at the middle. They got Alex Mack, a good center, but outside of that, they're relying on young guys, unproven guys. They're going to be average or maybe a little bit worse. So it's not going to be an explosive line that's going to open a lot of holes. Trent Richardson is going to have to find these holes and exploit them. We move to the defense, where it's going to be an interesting story with the Browns defense, but they're not a great unit. Phil Taylor is back after tearing his pectoral. The former first-round pick is a load in the middle, and it's going to be tough to move. If he eats up blockers, he could have a big impact for their first-round pick this year, Barkevious Mingo. Mingo was the explosive pass rusher out of LSU, and if Taylor can occupy blockers, that will mean less blockers that can block Mingo. We look at one of their big signings this year from the Raiders, Desmond Bryant. Bryant was an undrafted player out of Harvard, which is a little surprising because he made some stupid plays on the field, taking unnecessary penalties, but did show the ability to move along the line, play any position on the down line, and move. He could get across the field. He's got some good legs. Then we got Atula Rubin, a good run stuffer, but he's not going to offer you much in the pass rushing department. And then we look at their big pass rushing addition in the offseason from the Super Bowl champion Ravens. That's Paul Kruger, the former Utah Jet. Was highly paid, but he's got to prove that he can do it as a full-time starter. He was never a full-time starter with the Ravens. Now, in the middle, they have DeQuell Jackson, a tackling machine out of Maryland, but he's been injury prone for the past few years. If he can stay healthy, he's a great tackler, but he's going to be needed to make a lot of tackles because they're going to be on defense a lot with that offense. We look at their secondary, and it's very weak with TJ Ward starting at strong safety. He's good, but never going to be a Pro Bowl caliber guy. Luckily for them, they do have a number one corner who can limit a team's number one receiver in Joe Hayden, the former Florida quarterback, then wide receiver, then corner, is just a great athlete who can play any position that they ask him to. I believe this is going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. They're going to be looking at another top 3 draft pick I think they're going 3-13. We'll see how it goes.